You're live. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Creatively Structured Wednesday with your host, Shekinah Mitchell, and special guest, Glenda Mays. Make sure you take the time out to let us know where you are watching from. Make sure you like, make sure you comment, make sure you share, and invite others into tonight's broadcast.
Hello, 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 my friends and family. Hello, greetings to my friends, family, fellow creatives, entrepreneurs, all of the Creatively Structured Wednesday family. I am really, really excited about tonight. I'm excited every Creatively Structured Wednesday that we do, which is why we don't do them every week, because I feel like unless we have something very important to talk about and that's going to help a lot of people, we don't do things just to be doing them. This expert tonight is a friend, a sister of mine who is multi-talented, multi-gifted, who is trusted and an expert in her field. She's the owner and CEO of Sapphire Tax and Financial Services, as well as Whatchamacallit shirts and more, of which there are plenty of t-shirts in my closet from her brand. And so without further ado, I want to introduce you to Glenda Mays. And I'm going to let her spend a little time talking about herself, giving you a background on her business, and we're going to cover some financially structured information on tonight.
Good evening. As he stated, I am the owner of Sapphire Tax and Finance and Whatchamacallit design, t-shirts, designs, and more. And both of them, it was kind of birthed out of frustration, getting bad service from different people or different businesses. So it kind of pushed me into wanting to create my own and giving people good product, good service at a fair price.
We love good things at a fair price. So, as you've heard, she does a lot of things, has her hand in a lot of things. But today, I wanted to focus on her expertise as far as financial services. And even if you listen to the name of the business, she does more than do taxes. And so I really want tonight to be a safe place for creators and entrepreneurs who have either started a business and have not done things maybe the way that they should have, or who are about to start a business and want to know what are those first steps to take. Because the biggest thing we always want to make sure we do is do things legally in right standing. When you don't want to work hard to build something and then not take the proper steps and foundations, and then that's asking for it to be taken away from you. So Glenda's one of those people, like my dad says, that can keep you out of jail. So you always want somebody like that in your corner. So Glenda, I guess we'll start with what do you think are the beginning steps if I have an idea, whether it's a t-shirt business, whether it's a snowball stand, and I want to start a business financially, where should my focus be first?
I believe first when you decide that you want to start something, you have to do marketing. I know that's kind of outside the financial part, but you have to see what audience you're going to target, what people you're going to target. And from there, you'll kind of know the need, and then you'll know what you need to produce or provide your services for. So that would be the first thing you would want to do. What is going to be your target? And that can kind of give you an idea. What's your goal? What's your goal to make your first year, your second year? So you have to set those goals.
I love it. I love it. And even what you said with marketing, that's a part of the finances, because you got to know your audience. So then you know what your cost is going to be, and you definitely want to know what your goals are. I think a lot of people have dreams and ideas and don't realize what it takes to do it. And especially if you don't have a mentor, you don't know about startup costs. Right. You may not know, getting a website, what that looks like, the cost that you're going to have every month, every year. You just know I want a business, but there's a lot attached to that. One of the things that I was really,
right,
when I started my business, really shocked me was no one teaches you, at least I wasn't taught, about getting a business account. You hear that, but what does that mean? What does it take to get it? When you get started, and you know this, there's different forms of businesses. You can have an LLC, you can have a DBA until you get an LLC. No one taught me, okay, when you get a business account, you need these documents. The importance of separating my personal funds from business funds, and how I can be liable if I don't separate them, and all the trouble that comes with that. So you kind of got a double role, because you can speak as a business owner, but also as an expert. When you started your business, did you have a mentor or someone who could tell you, listen, when you start, these are the things you need to do?
Absolutely. And that's very important, because you always want to learn from somebody who's been through it and made the errors. And I had a mentor, and I still made errors, because even listening to some of the guidelines, you think, well, I can't do that yet, so I'm going to try it this way. But like you said, it's very important to know the key steps, because first you got to know what type to have. If you're going to have the sole proprietorship, which is the same as the DBA you mentioned, if you're going to do the LLC, if you're going to do the S corporation, and all of that determines on how are you going to run your business. Of course, sole proprietorship is just you. LLC, it can be just you, but you could also form a board. So you have to have all that in line. And with the IRS, I mean, if you're making more than $400, you technically should have a separate bank account. You can use your personal, but when you go to claim your expenses, you're going to have to be very, very detailed and prove to them it was for business. It wasn't. So it's just that fine line or a chance that you're taking if they happen to pull you. So it's very important. And for a bank account, like you said, you have to have the proper documents. You have to have your EIN, which that's given from the IRS. It's very simple to apply for. You have your business name where you're registered in your state. And most banks will give you one. And you don't even have to have a lot of money to open them. I think some of them are like $500.
Yep.
So it's easy. We just have to do it.
Yep.
So,
And it's easy. That's kind of what we've been talking about with Creative Structure Wednesday. A lot of this is easy. You just have to do, like you said, do it, but you have to know. And everyone doesn't do their
right.
Googles or even know how to go about it. You said something that I literally had noted, and you rolled right into it. There's a dollar amount even for, okay, at this amount of money I'm bringing in, I have to report things. I learned even in my research that there was a dollar amount in which I needed to start when it comes to filing business taxes. There's a dollar amount on those things. And some people think, if you're doing something small scale, oh, it's okay. I'm just making t-shirts out of my house. It doesn't matter. It's just me doing it. I can get away, like you said, and you never know. You don't want to leave the door open to have issues when you could just do the
Right.
right thing, have the right
Absolutely.
document, and make it really, really simple. I also heard you mention about when it comes to deductions. That is one of the biggest things I think that I learned that changed my life. One of the biggest. I had mentors
Mm-hmm.
and things too, but learning, especially as someone who has a home office and things like that, starting off,
Mm-hmm.
the things that were allowable for deductions really, really changed my mind. I know there are many, but could you give us some ideas of someone who is starting a business? I mean, it could be like a home office, like we said, or starting a business using your vehicle, what some of those deductions may look like.
You can have like the business use of your home. If you're working out of your home, you get to claim that space that you're using. Basically, it gives you an adjustment on your taxes that you pay on your home. You get to claim your utilities that you're using. If you make a home improvement to create an office space, you get to claim all of that. If you happen to have some type of repairs in your home and it affect the area that you use for business, you claim that. So all property tax
Oh, I think you're cutting out a little bit.
ratio between.
Can you hear me? Let me see. You're kind of going in and out a little bit. I'm gonna give her a little time to get back in, but she was speaking to something, like I said, that's really, really important to me. It changed my life when I learned about deductions and what things you are able to. Oh, oh, you're back. I'm sorry, you started cutting in and out when you were talking about the
Yeah.
deductions. Gotta love the internet, boy. But she'll get in if she can. But like I was saying, along those same lines, I learned things like having a home office, some of those electricities, the Wi-Fi, internet, all the things that you would use
Yes.
when it comes to your car and gas. Of course, within reason. Some people overdo everything. But
Absolutely.
also something that I learned, and I'm sure Glenda sees this more than anybody in her field, documentation is key. So even being able to say, oh, I drove, 20 miles to do this for work purposes and I use this and that documentation, that's the way to safeguard yourself. Because even doing these things that we're talking about, doing the right thing, you can still, and Glenn, you can correct me if I'm wrong, you can still come up for an audit. And so even doing the right thing, you want to have the right documentation to go with it. So I have a question
Right.
for you.
Absolutely.
It's funny to me that we talk about this a lot on Creative Structure Wednesday. Some stuff in terminology people just don't know. So for some those who may not be familiar outside of movie context, and we're talking about mobsters, can you describe for us what a bookkeeper is?
Hmm. Okay. Bookkeeping is basically fixing your balances. You're keeping record of what you spend and you're keeping record of what you make. So you're taking record of each receipt, you're putting it in a category so you can have it. You should have everything broke down. You have your expenses for supplies, for product, if you're producing a product, the materials, expenses for your machines or whatever you may have to purchase for business, and then it's against your income. So that's basically what bookkeeping is. You're keeping a specific record of every detail of your company, purchases, the money you make, all of that. So that's basically what bookkeeping. They should match up at the end. What you purchased, what you made, and you have your checks and balances. That's what bookkeeping is.
So, how often do you come across businesses and business owners that don't keep books? Because I know it happens.
The time. Yes, all the time.
And then I would say,
especially tax season, they're rushing to get stuff together
and trying to go back all year when you could have been tracking stuff. And for those of you who say what she's describing is a lot, that's why you have services like hers and professionals and experts like her who can do that for you, because it can be time consuming. And it's kind of leading to the next thing I wanted to ask Glenda about, but it can be time consuming, but it saves you so much on the far ends of time. Like, it's tax season and you trying to go through a year worth of receipts and you could have took 2 minutes to input something. But also we're in 2023. There are options to assist with that. And I'm sure Glenda may have some at her disposal. I have some that I use personally. Would you have any apps that you could recommend for someone to be able to go in and input those expenses or those receipts?
I recommend QuickBooks. I don't work for them. I don't, but I use, and that is one of the best apps because you can put it in. And not only that, when you have your accountant or your tax person, they can easily go in and pull it out and do everything for you, make your statements, your financial statements, your tax documents. It's so easy. You can have other apps, but even in the other apps, you're going to still have to put it into your bookkeeping app. So why not use the bookkeeping app in the beginning? You can tie your bank account, pull everything down, and like I said, it'll just come all at once, and it's so much better. And it only costs like $20 a month, $25 a month. It's worth it. Worth and that than paying somebody like me that has to keep it.
And it sounds worth it to me than bail money if you don't do it correctly.
Right.
I tell you guys, when I started my business, I was so, you're always nervous, excited, but I was so concerned about having my financial aspect right because I didn't want no trouble. You see so many stories and stuff about things happening for people who don't follow protocol and have things in place. So I researched all I could. I asked all the questions that I could because I didn't want to build anything that anybody could come and take away from me. And I didn't want to invest into something and I didn't properly protect it.
Right.
And like she said, QuickBooks, I use QuickBooks. When we talked about the last session, we're going to put out a workbook and some documents with some things that we are suggesting for creatives. And QuickBooks is one of those tools that you should have in your back pocket. It saves you a lot. And I'm very big on still having someone. So you can use QuickBooks and you can do that automation and put things in. There's nothing ever wrong with still having someone as a bookkeeper or as a tax professional to look over those things. Everyone should have an accountant if you have a business. If that's not what your degree is in and you are not trained, you should have an accountant outside of yourself, no matter how great of a mathematician you are. I believe in that because you invest in what matters to you. And you want to protect yourself in all aspects. Glenda also kind of talked about already the business bank accounts. And she was telling you about how, they're usually not relatively hard to get into. Documentation, she kind of walked you through that, what you're going to need. And of course, those types of things, you can go to whatever bank, whether it's Chase, Wells Fargo, your bank of choice. And on their site, they usually list what those requirements are. And that's when you want to make sure you have those documents in place. We are giving you resources to ask questions. If you don't know what those documents are, how to obtain them. She threw out there for you the EIN number. Quick and easy process. I remember the first time I had to go through that, and I was a little anxious and nervous, but it was so simple, so easy, that we have to make sure that we're guarding the gifts that we have and the things that we're building really well. Because again, we talk about building legacy and empires, and we want to make sure these things are protected. So Glenda, you mentioned, and this is a big headache for people, but also businesses, tax season. The big elephant in the room. It's so funny. I was having a conversation with a friend of mine who kind of works in that field, but for major corporations, who amounts of dollar amounts I have never seen in my personal life, and the hassle that comes with it. But I think with anything, we start managing our own stuff right, so our personal finances, and then there is a difference, in my opinion, from working your personal finances and taxes in your business. What does tax season for you as a business owner even? What does that look like?
Chaotic. You can plan as much as you want, but it's still a little when I say chaotic, I believe it's more of people just being antsy, because we hear those three letters IRS and everybody kind of freeze up.
Yep.
But they're really not that bad. Like you said, we keep our records in order. But tax season for me is work. That's the best way I can describe it.
There are a few professions in the world I tell people, I admire you. I could never do what you do. And a tax professional is one of those. Even there was a time, once upon a time, friends and family I know were like, oh, come in and help me for the season. It makes me antsy.
It's not that bad, though. I like it because it's like helping people. I do my best, not only just to do their taxes, but to try to educate them as well. Not so much as they can do them themselves, but they understand what I'm doing. Because whether I do them or not, at the end of the day, you have to answer for that, not me. You do, because you're feeding me the information. So I try to make them understand exactly what you're giving to me, why you're giving it to me, and this is what this means, and this is what that means. Because most people, they don't know what they did. They have a copy of a return, and they have no idea what it is, what they did, nothing. So I try to educate them as I'm doing it.
And I'm sure that shows up in your clientele, because me personally, if I went to someone who took the time so I could understand what was happening, not just transactional, I would want to be a return client, because that makes sense. I saw, and I'm probably not going to say it accurately, but I'll paraphrase. It might have been during tax season. You posted something along the lines of, I cannot guarantee you a large return, but I can guarantee you an accurate return. And when I tell you, that just jumped at me, because people do things in every industry across the board for numbers and for money, and they'll make false promises and, oh, I can get you this back. But for you to be integral enough and know your worth, and to know your skill set, to say, I might not can guarantee you a dollar amount that would make you run this way, but I'm going to make sure that it's done right, it's accurate, that you don't have problems on the back end. That really spoke volumes to me when I read that.
People have the misconception that tax professionals are supposed to get them money back. I'm not here to get you a refund. I'm here to file your taxes. But if you happen to be lucky enough to come on that positive side, then you'll get a refund. And I'm going to make sure you get every deduction that you can. And like I said, if you happen to get a refund, but you don't hire me to get you one. You hire me to do your taxes properly. And that's all I can offer you, because I don't like jail.
Listen, I told you that money is better than bail money. I'm not made for jail. I know myself. I know what I can and cannot deal with. And I like ramen noodles, but not that much.
I got high blood pressure.
See, that's I can't do it. I don't like. Can't do it. So we've walked through a couple things, you guys. Just a recap, kind of as we're moving. So we've talked about business banks accounts. We talked about some of those deductions that are allowed, things that you can put under the name of your business use. Of course, like I said, everything we're saying within reason that makes sense with documentation. We talked about what bookkeeping is and the importance of keeping records and not waiting until tax season to do that so that you're not frantic and rushing. We've talked about QuickBooks, and there are many other apps out there, but that you can use. And she even gave you a leg up telling you that that's integratable with your accountant being able to pull those things. So you won't have to do double work where you may with some of the other applications. I want to ask you, and this can come from either side, because like I said, you're double-edged sword. You're a finance professional, but also a business owner. What are, if you can give me five, if we can get there, if not, whatever you have, things that you know now that you wish you knew when you started your business?
Oh my. What I said before, the marketing. The I don't know, I guess knowing the full, how can I say it? Every step you need in order to get what you want to do. Like, say I wanted to do the t-shirts, we kind of see the surface of it. But then when you really start doing it, and you need this program and you need that program, or you need this type of product to make it look like this, and you need that type of, I would do a full research on every item that I wanted to produce to make sure I had everything. Because what happened to me was I saw a small picture of what I wanted to do. So I bought the equipment for that. But had I known, I'd have bought the bigger equipment, and then I wouldn't having to need to upgrade so quick. You know what I'm saying? So things like that, getting the full scope of what it is you want to do, because we just see the surface and be like, oh yeah, I can do that. And you can, but you might not know all the steps. And that's the same with finances. People see the end result and they're like, I want to do that. But you don't know all the steps.
You don't know my story.
Yeah, right. And having finances, a way that you're going to do it. I mean, both of mine was done straight out of pocket. Some people can do it, some don't. But that's a big part of it. Set a goal of how much you want to make. I want to be here by this time. I want to be here by this time. And I was always kind of slow as I go. And you shouldn't do that. Make a goal, make yourself stick to it, and go for it. That's what I would say. Those are some tips I would give.
And I have experienced pretty much all of that, what you just said. One of the major things about what we're doing here, like you said, make a plan and have a goal. I think because even in what you do, you are a creative. Sometimes we struggle with, I have an idea and I want to run with it, and we don't always build a blueprint out. And you can have success that way. I want people to understand that. I'm not saying that you won't be successful. I know a lot of people who have done that and have reached a certain level of success, but they could have gone so much further and sometimes have to come back and reevaluate. If I would have said, okay, what's my end goal? Like she referred to, I want to do t-shirts. But what does that look like in the end? Is it a boutique? Is it a certain demographic I'm gearing towards? And then you kind of know, okay, I'm going to start here, but I'm going to build here. Something she said that most people glaze over: startup capital. It takes money to start a business. It really does. And we don't sometimes think that through. Like in her example, if she would have just said, okay, I want to do t-shirts, so I need t-shirts and I need a machine. It's not that simple. Like she said, the marketing piece, I need a website. I need social media. I need graphics to be done. I need legally, like we've been talking about, I need some of these documentations in place. My business needs to be registered. I meet people on a daily basis. I want to have a business and don't know what it even costs to get the business registered in that state and what that looks like. What office to go to. And that's never to look down on anyone. I'm like, okay, great. So we got work to do. I'm glad you have an idea. I'm glad you have a dream. Now let's put some structure behind it, and it's going to take you really, really far because you have a great idea, great vision, and they don't know. I was watching something yesterday, and it was kind of geared towards music, but it was saying about we're in an age where we don't have a lot of mentors like we used to, and
Right.
we have some great people. It's not that they're not willing to share, but we're in an age almost where people had to kind of come up on their own, and they're in survival mode, especially post pandemic. So it's one of those things where if you don't ask, I won't say. And I'm that kind of
Right.
person. If I see you and I'm like, okay, I like what you're doing, um, I try to be tactful, even if it's unsolicited. But if I see something I can help with, like, oh, I really like that. Have you thought about doing it that way? Because of course we got to make sure our approach is right. But I'm not going to wait for
Right.
someone to necessarily ask for help or be in a place where it's obvious that they need it if I can offer something, which is kind of how this even started about. I learned so much, like you said, trial and error, um, failing to then turn around and succeed in the area because I asked God one thing: don't allow me to fail in the same area twice. Let me learn
Right.
my lesson and let me get what I
And
need to
move
get
to the
and bounce back.
next.
Exactly. Like, let me fail at
Hmm.
least in another place because,
Hmm.
and I think that's the important thing about what we're doing here, that people are going to be able to watch this and say, okay, well, Glenda said I need to have this in place and I need to do this and make sure that I'm documenting my expenses and make sure that I'm doing this and I don't wait till tax season. Because even with what you're saying, that's going to lessen stress and anxiety levels. That's a big
Absolutely.
thing for new businesses and entrepreneurs. Everyone wants to be their own boss. I hear people say, oh, you have your own business. It's great. You make your own schedule. I said, my schedule is I'm never off.
Right.
And that stress that comes with being a new business owner is high, but a lot of times it's because we don't put systems in place. So that's what
Right.
I really, 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 really want people to kind of glean from tonight is that there are ways to do this. You are not by yourself. There are professionals like Glenda. There are systems and strategies. There are apps like QuickBooks, these things in place to help you. Um, what Google and YouTube University won't do, reach out to someone you know. And with
Right.
this platform, no one has the excuse to say, well, I don't know anybody that's a finance expert, or I don't know anyone that's a graphic design expert, or I don't know anyone who builds websites. Because if you're plugged into CCG and if you're plugged into this platform, you know somebody. Because we're always putting people and businesses in front of your face because there's enough for all of us to win and succeed. I don't like the crab in the barrel analogy. Like, we can all get through this and we can help each other. And even you heard Linda say out of her own mouth, QuickBooks, $25 cheaper than hiring someone like me. It goes back to what I said about her business model, about accurate and maybe not the dollar amount you want. That's integrity to say, you may not can afford me day one as a business owner. And y'all know I'm really, really
Right.
big on that. I'll tell y'all, here are some shortcut cheat sheet type of things that we can do until we have the finances to do it. So she's giving you that leverage. And definitely, and I make sure we drop it in here if I didn't see it already, your social media. But that's a resource. Reach out to her. Say, hey, can we have a consultation? Can we have a conversation? I have questions. She's always dropping nuggets and tips on her page. I scroll through especially when it's getting ready for dates and deadlines and stuff. I can go to Glenda's social media for her business for Sapphire and see information there if something changes. So she's definitely plugged in. And so that's something you can scroll through and review and add. Make sure you like and follow so you can see those things because people are out here giving you tips. You just got to know where to look. Um, I see some of our family on. I see Derek is on. I see June. I see Libra is on. And we're just talking today about financial structure, how we can build our businesses and make sure that we're financially sound and set up for success. If you guys have questions, comments, you're definitely free to drop them there. And Glenn, I want to go here with you. For someone who, let's say I've started my business and maybe this is year 2 for me and I've been doing things and I have
Hmm.
not followed the stuff that you've been saying. How can I fix it? Is it too late?
I'm sorry, you cut out. How could you what?
Oh, I'm sorry. If let's say this is year 2 for my business that I've started and I haven't been doing what you said, I haven't separated my funds, I haven't got these documents in place. Is it too late? What can I do? How can I fix it?
It's never too late. I mean, but it will be work. You basically have to, you would have to dissect your bank account. If you don't have the receipts, maybe you pay with a card, and you can, salvage as much as you can to separate the two. I don't think it would be anything detrimental, but you could fix it. It would just be time consuming. So you just have to go through. Like I said, hopefully you paid with your bank account. So we always have our bank statements. We can go through that and kind of divide. Then I would recommend that you go ahead and get an account as soon as you can. You can separate them and go from there. So
Got you.
it
She
wouldn't
said
be,
something,
because
y'all.
normally the first year of business is always a loss, the first year. And you normally won't have to file the first year because it's a loss. But some people do, because you have a business loss, and that's kind of in your favor. By the third year, you should be really turning over funds and making money. First years are kind of growth years, established years. You might not do too much. But by that third year, you should be fully going.
Y'all know I'm churchy. And what I heard her say was, don't despise them first 2 years because you're building. And she said it's growth years. That blessed me because I've been there where things are not adding up and things are not going the way that I think they should. And for some reason, we have social media, I think, plays a role. We have this misconception. We start this business and we believe everybody else starts a business and day two is successful. I don't know why we believe that. And maybe because people publicize their wins and not so much the struggle or the growth or the
Right.
building, but that's not realistic. And so she said, those first 2 years, that's growth. You got to get established. It takes time. It's like, I was talking to my little sister. The first time, let's say someone moves out of home and gets the first apartment, or for sure a house, and you're paying water for the first time, or you're paying lawn care, and God forbid you're
Hmm.
in an HOA and you got fees for the first time. It takes an adjustment because you're not used to doing those things.
Absolutely.
Doesn't mean that you're not capable, that you're not able, but it's a learning curve. And so what she's saying is, when you start something new, give it space to work. Now, this is knowing that you're doing all you can. This is not saying take a back seat and this is
Right.
easy. No, this is knowing I'm keeping up with my books, I'm keeping my receipts, I'm keeping tabs on what
Right.
I'm spending and where it's going. But then you got to just trust the process from there. So I think that was good to me. That blessed me too. I'm told 2 years, let it
Yeah.
grow and look for that return. I see Derek in the comments saying that helped him. Derek is the owner and operator of Think Fuller Productions. He's going to have a play coming up in Dallas in September, and he knows
Hmm.
about that. We've been through that together. He knows about starting something, especially in the realm of theater and production, putting
Absolutely.
money and investing, and then you put on a production and you want people to come. And that anything, I think, dealing with the arts, art is subjective. It takes time. And so that's a word of encouragement that where you start is not where you end. You got to have somewhere and some place in which God can do his work and be glorified, because that at the end of the day, that's what it's all about. I'm telling y'all, with my
That's what it's.
business, I never thought, even when you dream and you pray and you believe for a thing, I never thought I'd be where I am now. I was talking to my team today and I'm like, the things we've accomplished, the people we've helped, like I've met and worked with people of my dreams. Like, you know how you write a list, and if I ever meet these 3 or these 5 people, like, oh, this is it for me. Like, I can go ahead and retire. I'm done, type of thing. And this last year, I've done some of that. And I believe it's because of what we were talking about with your business, Glenda. It's integrity. Like, I tell people, I cannot
Right.
promise you certain things that you're looking for, but I can promise you that we're going to get it done right, efficiently, that we're going to give everything we can to make sure that it's set up the way you need it to. I don't mind setting you up for success without me. And that's kind of what I heard you say when we were talking about the QuickBooks. I don't mind doing that. I will give you the tools and strategies. I'm going to teach you what I'm doing and make it understandable to you. And then if you go on and don't need me, I'm okay with that, because I know
Right.
that word of mouth and my integrity, that means clients are coming like, oh no, they really care. They really are caring, concerned about people that are investing into them. Let's see, it's 8:09. I get carried away talking. So I'm double checking to see if we have any questions, because typically we're rolling to Q&A. If you have not dropped them and you do have questions, let me check over here too. Feel free to drop those in the comments so we can address those questions. My Wi-Fi doing some stuff over here too. That's that Texas weather. got to love it.
Is that what it is? I'm supposed to have the best Wi-Fi.
Listen, when you get that 5G, they make you something. See, they make you promises. They promise you stuff, and they can't deliver on it. Glenda, Derek said he needed that encouragement.
I'm glad I could encourage you, Derek. Keep going.
Yes,
You know what Pastor told us one time? It's just wood right now.
Listen, Derek was on last night on Taylor Made Tuesday, and we got mollywopped, talking about in this season about how we have to recover differently because the hits are different. And I think that speaks really big to business owners and entrepreneurs. Although the pandemic is over, according to some people, we still feel the effects of it. And it's harder starting a business now than before. A lot of people close down and are trying to rebuild and all those things. And so it's more work. It's harder hits. So we just have to approach things a different way. Glenda kind of hinted at it when she was talking about one of the things she wished she knew. Build you a blueprint. Have a plan. Know what you want that to look like. I think sometimes we get afraid of our own vision. So we don't want to sound crazy to other people. So if I say, like with Glenda, she wanted to do t-shirts, but if she said something like, oh, it's going to turn into this empire and I want this, there's nothing wrong with that. You know it's going to take work and steps to get there, but why stop at just your blueprint is I want to make t-shirts? Because you have nowhere to go from there. After you've done the first one, you've done it. So nothing wrong with dreaming big, planning big. I always start that way, and then I go back and say, okay, what steps does it take to get here? And from this first one to the second process, what steps does it take? I always say that to myself, so I'm always looking and working forward to the next thing. I think you tackled everything. I don't see anybody dropping questions. That means you answered everything real good.
I guess that's a good thing, huh?
Right. A lot of times we'll end up people typing, asking questions, and as they're asking and we're answering them, and it's like, okay, good, we covered that. And then while I'm looking at this, you can, we talked about the business names, but can you tell us social media, Facebook, Instagram, websites where we can find both of your businesses?
They are both on Facebook and Instagram. Facebook is Sapphire Financial. No, it's not. It's Sapphire Tax and Financial Services. And Whatchamacallit, T-shirt designs and more. Both names are on Instagram and Facebook. I do have a website for Sapphire. We are working on the website for Whatchamacallit. The website is www.sapphiretaxfinancial.net. It's my website.
And I'll make sure when we are doing the recap and stuff, we'll have those posted. Again, you want to make sure that you are separating these things. Your monies from business monies. You're keeping log. You're keeping receipts of everything. I'm telling y'all, I struggled in the beginning, but now I will buy something literally. And some of that stuff is integratable with QuickBooks where you order it and you can connect them. But I literally sit right there and put this receipt in because I don't want to have to go back and do it. So definitely keep those things protected, keep that structure in place. And once you do this, it's a process. You don't have to keep going back and redoing this. Every year, these things are input this way. When it comes times for taxes, it's quick and easy. Because I don't think nobody, including tax professional, likes tax season. But you can make this less stress and much more of an easier process. We're going to wrap up here. Still can drop questions. I'm watching out of my right eye. But Glenda, what is there? Is there any... It's one takeaway if you want everyone to walk away from this session knowing something that maybe they didn't know when they came in or what's important? You said you covered a lot of things, but is there one main takeaway you would want them to have from this?
I would say just keep your record straight. First of all, know what you want to do, how you want to do it, and just make sure you keep all your records in order. If you do that, even if you don't have them scanned anywhere, but if you have them together and in order, it's fixable. So that's what I would say. Just focus on keeping all your records straight so you can cover yourself in any situation.
Because we don't want to go to jail eating ramen noodles. That's what she said. I appreciate it. I thank each and every one of you for tuning in. Creatively Structured Wednesday, as you know, it's our goal to give creatives the tools that we need to succeed in every area, whatever they may look like. I don't know everything, but I know someone who knows. And we pull in experts in every industry and every field just so we can give you the tools, some tips and some tricks to do what we need to do so we can become better. Mm-hmm. Everybody give a round of applause to Miss Glenda Mays. We really appreciate it. She has worked hard today. I see a question popping up. Okay, Auntie's Advice Lifestyle Podcast said, how many years can you go back and fix business taxes?
Up to 3 years. That's all they really ask for. Sometimes they'll ask for 7, but if you don't owe and they owe you, they just gonna go for 3. But if you haven't found, if you haven't found, my suggestion is starting with your current year, and then let them ask you what more, if they want more years, let them tell you. You don't want to open a can of worms. So start with your current year and then let them ask you if they want previous years. I hope that makes sense.
That makes sense to me. And that sounds like the government if they owe you.
But that's what I would do. Like, if you haven't filed in a couple of years, I would just start with my current year and then let the IRS contact you and say, hey, we need this year and that year. Because they may not have record of it, or if you lost money, it's a business loss. But I would just start with the current year and then let them tell you what they want instead of you giving them what you think they want.
Gotcha.
Makes sense.
And is that something you just communicate to whoever your tax professional is, saying, hey, I'm this many years, just so you know, so then when something comes back, got you. Mm-hmm. If that answers your question, or if you have any outline questions for that, you can definitely let us know if she covered that for you. Oh, it's popping up now. I want to make sure nobody gets left unanswered before we let you go.
Thank you.
Oh, she said, good information. You should have 1 million people in here.
Thank you.
But when we talk about, we talked about this when we said we're going to do this session, people do not get excited. We've done sessions on blueprints and brainstorming, on graphics. People do not get excited talking about finances. That's something that, number one, makes a lot of people uncomfortable, but they don't invest in. And so I know for a lot of people, this is a hard thing. And And some people just care to push it off on someone else and not know. But like Glenda was saying, she does with her clients. I'm a business owner. I want to know. And so sit me down and explain these things to me so I can know what I'm doing year after year. I can know what these forms mean. I'm not just signing off on stuff. I appreciate that
Right.
because, like she said, at the end of the day, if something goes wrong, I'm accountable. So I
Right.
knew how this was going to kind of, for some people, it's not a big deal, but it's important. It's definitely important. Okay, Rico
Yeah.
said that's all the questions we had. Rico keep us in line and on point. But again, as I was saying, round of applause. We want to thank Glenda Mays for being a part of tonight. Thank you for all the information in the pour. She's talking from experience. She's gone through things and learned things, and this is valuable. What she just gave us in this time period, she could charge for. And so, we always like to be a blessing to our guests here. So I'll make sure that that's done. But give us hearts, give us likes. If she helped you tonight, definitely share this. We're going to leave the replay up for a while. Tag someone if they're a business owner or entrepreneur who may need assistance in these areas or may not know some of this information. Definitely tag them. Again, we're going to make sure her links are in that, but definitely go over to her page, send her a message. Hey, Glenda, I was on Creatively Structured Wednesday and you said this and I don't have that in place. You said bookkeeping app. You said you could help me. I'm 3 years in the whole, send her that information, and she's going to respond to you. Glenda's going to get you right and take care of you. Oh, I see our sister on, Glenda. But again, I really
Hey,
appreciate you. It
sister.
means a lot. She giving a round of applause. I see Nicole is on and Sierra is on. We appreciated you guys. But
Thank
definitely, I
you.
appreciate you for the pour. And we'll talk after this, but I really, really appreciate you taking this time, you guys. The graphic will be going up. I believe we'll do another Creative Structured Wednesday next week. We don't do it every week, but I've been getting a lot of messages and a lot on my heart about what people are needing in this season and what information. So I'm trying to put it together, especially while I'm not traveling as much these next couple of weeks. So keep your eyes out for that graphic. Glenda, we appreciate you. And Rico, you can take us out.
You're welcome.